Welcome to FlexRX episode 14. So that's 1-4, but actually that would be like that, 14. So we're going to be diving in for today's topic. Super excited about this one. Just got back from Utah yesterday. So if you haven't been to Utah, it is absolutely beautiful. It's kind of like, we were in the Salt Lake City area and just mountains everywhere, looking all pretty and stuff. And it was phenomenal. So had a good time, and shout out to Armand and Brittany for having us at their wedding. Now, the topic for today we're going to be diving into is going to be, because I just came off a trip, what are some strategies for staying on track while traveling, be that for weddings, be that for business trips. I'm going to tackle this one. So I guess we'll get into it. So today's topic is staying on track while taking trips, be that vacations, be that hikes, be that business trips in terms of conferences. Here's going to be some of the strategies that I use to stay on track to keep fat loss going, or to not, go on a trip, enjoy yourself, and then you go on the scale when you get back home, you're like, wow, I'm up 10 pounds. Didn't think it was that bad. I think we've all been there where you go on a trip. I know specifically my first time, actually no, I've been there before, but Houston, Texas, was with my family, and I remember we had some good stuff. I think it was like Shipley's Donuts. We had some goulashes, I think they're called, as well, in other places. And I came back and I was like 10 pounds up after like a 7-day trip. It happens to the best of us. So today we want to go over some strategies to make sure that that doesn't happen as frequently, and we are in the driver's seat to not have surprises when we come back from these trips. So this last weekend, I was in a wedding in Utah, and it was kind of like, we did stuff throughout the weekend, but I came back and I'm actually leaner than I was when I left. Still had some ice cream cake, had some wedding cake, had some great stuff, but I was able to come back and not be in a position where I had to re-lose the same 5 pounds in this fat loss phase. So really happy about that. And so some of the strategies I use, the first one overall, what is something that we can just focus on and just have downstream success? Because as we know, you need to be in a calorie surplus to gain body fat over time. So what we tend to see is if we focus on, protein, if we hit our protein targets in a calorie efficient way, things downstream tend to figure themselves out. They tend to fall into place if you can nail protein in a calorie efficient way. So again, we got staying on track when traveling. This is going to include business. This is going to include conferences. It's going to be vacay. This is going to be weddings, all that fun stuff. So the first one we're going to say is hit your protein. And in terms of hitting your protein, I got some subcategories here. But if you get this right, satiety tends to be good. Things fall into place. So if you can nail your protein, get your protein in a good spot when you are traveling, you can be in a good spot. But what does not getting, you can still hit your protein. And if you're using inefficient sources that are high in calories, you can still find yourself in a troublesome area. So when I was younger, I used to think that a protein is just any source, any meat source or something, or anything that includes protein. So it'd be like, Mom, this sausage, it's a protein, right? And she's like, yeah, that's a protein. I'm like, okay, cool. It's healthy. It's going to hit my protein. It's anabolic. Hey, Mom, this protein, this peanut butter, this is going to be, there's protein in this, right? Yeah, it's a protein. And the thing with foods is they are not a carb, a fat, a protein. It's kind of going to be a balance of all three. Some foods like Gatorade is 0 fat, 0 carbs. So it is pretty much just plain carbs. Egg whites, it is literally just pure protein. But generally, foods are going to have some balance of everything, but be heavier in something versus another. So what we're looking for when we're getting protein right is being calorie efficient. What does that not look like? Not using 70% lean beef to hit protein or peanut butter. Because if peanut butter, 200 calories, 6 grams of protein per serving, if I want to hit 180 grams of protein, what that's going to look like with protein powder or peanut butter, that's going to be 30 servings at 180 grams of protein. So 30 servings is 6,000 calories. So that's 30 times 200 calories, and that's 30 times 6G protein. If I want to get 180 grams of protein. So When we're traveling, when we hit our protein source, we want to be calorie efficient while we stay anabolic. So what does that look like? Or how would I do this when traveling? So good old, it's good to be alive in 2024. I'm not going to lie. We got Instacart. And it's just typically if I'm going to stay at a hotel room, actually when I'm with Airbnbs, be that with the HFP team, be that with on like a retreat, we almost always start the thing, the week off with like an Instacart order, or we'll hit up the local, whatever, Costco or like a Sam's. And the number one thing, the first thing we get is RTDs. RTDs. Love RTDs. So that's 30 grams of protein, and they're about 150 calories. So very calorie efficient. That means you're getting 120 calories from protein, because protein is 4 calories per gram, within 150 calories. That is, 80% efficient, or 80% protein by the calories. 120 calories out of 150 coming from protein. Very, very high and efficient. Alan Morris, you're talking about 647 bread. I absolutely love it. High fiber bread. And yeah, it's legit. It's just, again, good to be alive. 2024. Psyllium husk, all kinds of stuff. Instacart. So back on the protein topic. Ready to drinks. And there's a ton of brands. These are just like the pre-made ready to drinks. It's just a ready to drink protein shake. It's a pre-made protein shake. It's already blended together. You just gotta, and you're done. You just drink it. So pretty much it's like a protein powder, like without having to mix it. And so these, you got many brands here. You got Fairlife, you got Equate, that's Walmart brand. You got Quest, you got Premier Protein. We'll just do PP for short. And so you can do those. And I would just stock up the fridge there because I can have 60 grams of protein within 300 calories. That same 180 grams of protein that peanut butter would get me in 6,000 calories, I can use these to get me to in 900 calories. So this is being protein efficient. This is something I focus on doing. And kind of what I'm doing is I'm trying to bang out this protein, just trying to get it done on as low as calories I can so I can use other calories towards the fun stuff when traveling. So other ways that will help you hit your protein when you're on the go. So first thing, I would just Instacart over like 4 of these per day. So if like I'm somewhere for 4 days, we'll get like 16 of them and just have them on hand. Boom, protein done. These, I'm not going to say most people should, but protein bars. I think all in all, protein bars are overrated because they are not that efficient per calorie. Even the best ones are usually like 200 calories and you get like 20 grams of protein. And so that's going to be, 80 calories out of 200. So that's going to be 40% calories from protein. But generally, if you find a protein bar that's high in fiber, and it has a good amount of protein, and it's about 200 calories, they can be solid. And so easy meal would be like 1 RTD plus 1 PB. Not peanut butter, but protein bar. So we'll go Pro B. And then that's going to be about, 350 calories, and you hit 50 grams of protein. You get a good amount of fiber. That'll keep you satiated. So if I go to a conference, I bring a drawstring bag. Thankfully in HFP, every retreat we do, we get a new drawstring bag. So I got way more than to do with. But with these protein bars, with the Instacarts, with the ready to drinks, what I'll do is if I'm going to a conference for like, let's say 8 hours, maybe there's a lunch, maybe there isn't a lunch, I'll bring like 2 to 4 bars and I'll bring like 4 ready to drinks. Just so if I want a little snack while things are happening, or like I'm going to have like a little mini meal, I'll just like knock one of these out. Doesn't mean that I have to eat each one, but they'll keep good enough in a conference room or something for a good amount of time. If I'm going on a hike, let's say, I'll bring like 1 or 2 ready to drinks and probably a protein bar. Just have that as I'm going. And now the third one is jerky, beef jerky. To all you lucky individuals that I'm super jealous of, that you have a Buc-ee's around you. So Buc-ee's, where's it? Buc-ee's. I forgot, but it's one of the two. But their turkey jerky is absolutely phenomenal, especially if they have like the bar where it's not like prepackaged. They like, take it out for you. I would just load up on like that turkey jerky, and I may never have like another RTD. I'll just eat that all day. But your boy's in New Jersey. So we don't have Buc-ee's yet. If somebody's going to franchise a Buc-ee's in New Jersey, please put it in Central Jersey and we'll be best friends. But beef jerky in general, you can often find I think there's some low sugar options now, and I'm not someone who's sugar bad, etc. But typically, if it's lower in sugar, it's gonna be lower in carbs, it's gonna be lower in calories per gram of protein, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not sugar bad. I'm okay, less calories probably gonna put you in a good spot. So lower sugar options, higher protein. And so this is going to be good to bring into, again, a conference. It's kind of smelly, so you may not want to do that like a business conference. But beef jerky can be decent. I will say caveat with beef jerky is it's not typically as satiating as most protein sources because it's dehydrated. And hydration or water content in foods usually enhances the volume at 0 calories. So fruits and vegetables tend to be so satiating just because they got a lot of water content. But compare grapes versus raisins. How much more satiating is let's say 100 calories of grapes, or let's say 200 calories of grapes, versus 200 calories of raisins? Because it's dehydrated, it's going to be far less volume. You can probably just handful, boom, 200 calories. Grapes, you got to sit down, you got to do all the stuff, and that'll keep you busy. So because beef jerky is dehydrated, that's going to be something that's going to be a little bit more challenging. Difference between 70% beef versus 90% lean beef. Great question, Brian. So let me put that in here. I'm going to do a subcategory on here. So 70% lean beef versus 96. I wish I knew the numbers, but it's pretty much the percentage is grams of fat per weight of food, I believe. So I know in the case of, actually, yeah, the math does work. Because for 96% lean, you get 4.5 fat per 25 g protein. So that means for 140 calories from, the beef, you're going to get 25 grams of protein. So it's pretty darn efficient in calories. And so that's the 96 lean. So it's called 96.4 typically, because the 4 is 4% of the weight of the food is going to be in the fat. So compare that with 70%. What that's going to look like is going to be, and I'm going to do rough math here, but that would be, 4 ounces a serving. That is 112 grams. 28, yeah, 112 grams. So I'm just going to do simple math here. It's going to be 32 grams of fat. Oh gosh. So 32 grams of fat, and I doubt you're going to get as much protein just because I know you're playing with that weight. So now the leanness is going to be 30%. So you're probably going to get only 20 grams of protein here. So you're going to get all these calories from fat, which are 9 calories per gram, for the same amount of protein. So this is why, when people say oh, red meat bad, I can't say all red meat bad, but typically when people eat red meat, it's going to be ribeye steak, which is going to have a lot of fat per gram of protein. So it's going to be higher in calories overall. You're going to be having more fat. Not that fat is bad, but it just contains calories. Versus if you replace all those ribeye steaks with lean sirloin or filet, you're going to get, a lot less fat and a lot more protein right there. So that's going to put you in a better spot to maintain a calorie deficit, not have super high calories while you're getting your protein hit. So that's kind of the difference between 70% lean ground beef versus 96%. And then if you go, Guy Fieri, in terms of Flavor Town, go into Flavor Town, probably something with more fat is going to taste a little bit better, maybe a little bit more, what is that called? Tender, I guess, feeling, because fat is butter. So it's going to be more buttery. That's kind of that trade-off, because for every getcha, there's a gotcha. But generally for me, I'm usually going for 96% because I'm let's throw some salt on it. I can make it taste good. Wow, very eye-opening. Thank you. Yeah, great question, Brian. So now moving on to, this is pretty much tackling protein when traveling. These are kind of the things I'm thinking of. And then this one's useful. Bring protein powder. This one I love, especially if you're, actually I do this if I'm in hotels or Airbnbs. Bring protein powder, preferably chocolate, preferably frosted chocolate cupcake from PE Science, and use my discount code, which is going to be Hainesty, to save you some money. But no, in all seriousness, yes, use my code. But in all seriousness, I would do protein powder. Because you could do chocolate, you could do vanilla. But what you can do is make a protein mocha. Protein mocha. So what you're going to do here is you just put a little coffee, and then do like 0.5 scoops. You know, like a 0.5 scoop. You could do, 1 full scoop of protein. And then you're going to do a little coffee. You're going to mix it up. And it's going to get pudding-like. Then you add a little coffee and you keep mixing it. And then it's going to be a little bit lighter pudding. And then you keep mixing it and then you add a little bit more coffee. And then you're going to be able to dilute it. The reason why, if you just add like a ton of coffee to a scoop of protein, you're going to get clumps and stuff. But this is the strategy. You do a little bit of coffee with like your scoop or so. You mix it up. You get a pudding, a little bit more. Then you get a dilute pudding, a little bit more. Then you start getting like a liquid, and then you can start diluting. So that's how you don't get clumpy protein mocha. So spend a lot of time on focusing on protein when traveling. But my point here is, if you're getting enough protein in, you're probably going to be highly satiated per calorie, which is probably going to have you be less hungry, later on, and you're less likely to overconsume and maybe more calorie-dense foods. So it often sets you up for success. And we've seen that in my, coaching program in the Healthy Flex prescription, that a lot of our clients, if they're getting the protein right, they're ranking their hunger very low as they lose weight. And they're like, wow, this is way easier than I thought. But because they were just counting calories, they weren't focusing on their protein. They weren't keeping their fat relatively low. They weren't filling up their carbs with watermelon, berries, and vegetables, and it kind of made dieting suck a lot more when it didn't have to. So now moving in to the next piece is 2, not 3. I like to call this rule 2, not 3. So when traveling, you usually have access to unique foods you don't have available to you when you're at home, and it's a good time. And so here's something. Let's say if you have a big meal, your big meals where you're enjoying yourself, let's say they're 1,000 calories. If you have 3 of them, then you're going to have 3,000 calories. Math. So, and most people are not maintaining at 3,000 calories unless like you're a bodybuilder, you're tall, and you just have like 10 plus years of training. So most people are going to gain weight at 3,000 calories. However, if you limit these big meals to maybe 2 per day, you're less likely at like 2K, probably maybe like 2,200 to 2,400 calories. You're less likely to gain weight there. So it's limiting these big kind of indulgent meals. And this is just a good way of like, keeping things in balance. So I say, don't ball out at breakfast. And I guess like, because if you're in a hotel, you're in Airbnb, like what? Are you going to ball out on oatmeal? Have you never had oatmeal in your life? You can't get oatmeal. You can't get some Quaker oats in your pantry and like just microwave it. Like, no, you don't need 500 calories of oatmeal to start your day when you're in like Puerto Rico. Like, dog, just have a protein mocha, hit 50 grams of protein and 240 calories, and like keep it moving. Make that a light meal. So don't ball out breakfast on like oatmeal, cereal, and then if you're even at like a buffet or something, like really, can you get eggs anywhere else and bacon and all these things? That's where I typically say don't ball out on breakfast. And then in terms of that, instead, this is what works for me, and I just think it's more worth it on an ROI, return on investment of your calories. Instead, keep it light. Go like fruits and protein mocha, and then like call it a day. And you can get a ton of volume. I'm not saying like you have to fast, but like, hey, keep it within bounds. And then you can enjoy those later meals. Enjoy the later meals. And maybe that's going to be, it could even be this. You can do light breakfast, light BF. You can do light lunch even. And then you're like, all right, I'm a ball out. At dinner, I'm going to have, 1,000 calories. I'm going to have maybe a burger that's a little bit more indulgent. And then probably still do like steamed veggies on the side. Still keep it within bounds. But then my dessert, give me that lava cake. I know that's like 1,000 calories, but like overall, maybe I'm at 2,500 calories. But if I balled out on oatmeal on meal 1, then I'm going to be at like 3,000 calories or 3,500 calories. And that's probably going to put me more in a sticky situation. So I like to think of the 2, not 3 rule. And that really helps me when I'm traveling because I keep my breakfast pretty light. Lunch, I often do keep kind of moderately light. Maybe it's going to be a salad with protein. And then typically, like my dinner, maybe like 1,000 calories, and I'll just save calories for that. And I won't typically say no to like some froyo or something. So there's ways to work the strategy. If you're deep into dieting, it may be 1, not 3, which is kind of just like the game that I play. Dinner may be 1,000 calories, lunch is 500, breakfast is like 300. And then maybe there's room for, a frozen yogurt for, 400 calories or something, but keeping things kind of within balance. Number 3, get those steps. So when traveling, you're in a new location, be that vacation, be that conferences, etc. Like, take walks, explore the area that you're not going to be at often. I feel like because you're most likely, if you're traveling, there's going to be cool stuff to eat. There's going to be stuff. You're probably just like going to be out of your element, out of your routine. And you're probably going to have a little bit more calories. And like, that is okay. It's like, it just adds to the timeline of your fat loss phase. If you're losing fat, if you're bulking, hey, now we're going to just get a little bit more calories in. And so I would say it's useful to kind of mitigate or accommodate those calories. Just be a little bit more active, get those steps in, explore. And I feel like it's really easy to hit. Like, let me ask you this. Is it easier to get 10,000 steps in per day when you're traveling at like Puerto Rico or Miami or Utah, or, in your backyard, on your street, getting those steps in? It's probably more exciting to go walk around Miami or Puerto Rico or a hike in Utah, etc. So get a walk around, maybe go walk and get, a coffee even. And those little steps add up. But explore that cute town that you're only going to spend 3 days in at your Airbnb. Number 4. This one is what I always do. Find local gyms to get your training in. You got more food in, fuel some awesome training. Get your protein in, get some awesome training done. Find some sick local. I would even say for me, but like not everyone's me. And I understand I'm someone who probably gets more value out of training, exploring, and seeing new gyms because I like this stuff. I may not love training when I'm doing it, but I feel great afterwards and I like the returns of it. But find local gyms. Cool ones. There's cool ones to check out. You can almost always get like a $20 day pass or something. Or like, Planet Fitness. You can always get the black card. I think that gives you like unlimited access, wherever you are. And so that's going to be kind of the game to play. Black card, and Planet Fitnesses are everywhere. And even so, here's a little cheat code. You want to get 2 workouts for like $20. For $20, their day pass, that is free. Actually, yeah, this is free. 24 hours of gym access. If you just give them your email and they say, I've been told if you train at 9 a.m. today, and then you come back at like 8:59 a.m. and use that same pass, they'll let you in. So you can get 2 workouts actually for free $99. But then once you do that, it's then $20 a time. And I just do that instead because a bit is too many. But Planet Fitnesses, they're pretty much everywhere. And they got plenty of dumbbells, so you can have a good time there. Number 5. This was actually a bigger one. And that's going to be in terms of like dinners. I'm going to talk a little bit about dinners. So like meals out. So meals out. And then this is also a little different. Vacay versus biz, or just like kind of how I conceptualize it. This is how I stay, successful when I'm out, trying to get in some good calories, but stay on my goals, hit them, of course. The other piece is going to be, if a work trip, I tend to gravitate to chain restaurants. Chains, because usually I just like want something that's repeatable. I may try out something local on like a work trip, but like often if there's a Popeyes, I would love to get the blackened tenders. Their macros are amazing. And like, if there's one thing you take out of these, if your Popeyes is willing to spend 15 minutes cooking you chicken, blackened tenders, amazing macros. That was my birthday dinner this year. I just love them so much. And because the calories are good and the protein's high and the calories are low, I get to eat like 16 tenders. It's awesome. So I'll tend to go to chains, but also I was in Austin the other week. So Austin, and I was trying out the local franchises, the local chains. That was like Sweet Green, things that I don't have access to in like Jersey. Kava, but Austin is also a very like health intensive place. So Sweet Green, Kava, Hop Dottie, their tuna burger. I love Torchy's tacos, which are only like 200, 300 calories a taco. So yeah, they're chains and franchises and like, oh, what are you doing, Kevin? But like, hey, now I like my authentic Torchy's tacos. But I'll go there, and I know that the calorie information, but they're pretty solid, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But often, if it's more vacation, I would still, if I was taking a vacation in Austin, I'm still getting some Kava, Hop Dottie. Maybe those are going to be like my lighter meals that I want 600 or less calories. But I'm going to try the local foods, find hole in the walls. But also, I'd use the 2, not 3 strategy. But also, sometimes it's be smart. So I have to say this, and I've worked with a number of people that have been dieting, saying they're doing everything right, and then we're down 5 pounds, and then vacation happens and we're up 10 pounds. We're like, okay, what happened? And they're like, I don't know. It's just hard for me to stay on track. It's like, all right, so like, what did you order for dinner? And then it's like, okay, I had a burger this one dinner. It's like, okay, like a burger's fine. Like maybe pair that up with like something lighter, maybe a side salad or baked potatoes, even like not too bad. And then they're like, oh no, I had the nacho fries on the side. We're like, oh, okay, well then I hope that you just like, you had a Diet Coke or a water on the side and kind of mitigated that. Like, no, I had a margarita, actually 3 of them. And then we're like, all right, well, like, maybe those are like 300 each. And this is kind of adding up to like 3,000 calories so far. But like, I'm sure like that was it for the day and everything else was later. Like, no. Had the lava cake and we went out for dessert after. I'm like, okay, so like if fat loss is our goal and it's a priority right now, which we're saying it is, sometimes I hope no one feels called out. Actually, I do hope some people feel called out because awareness is the first step. But in the case of like, I usually will ask myself, or I'll have a friend if they say like, hey, I'm struggling to lose weight, and like we're out to dinner, or like maybe it's my dad, maybe it's like my sisters, and they're like, Kevin, I just don't know how to lose weight. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, but we go out for dinner, and there's like, say it's Cheesecake Factory. There's all these Skinnylicious stuff, Skinnylicious menu at Cheesecake Factory. There's like all the stuff that's a ton of protein and less than 600 calories. So the options are there. And I've been told this is a priority for me to lose fat. And then what happens is, Kevin, this is a priority, like, but I just don't know what's going on. And then I'm sitting next to you, and it's like, all right, let me start out with the nacho fries, and then I'll get the potato skins, and then I'm gonna get the double cheeseburger, extra cheese and bacon, and then of course we finish up with cheesecake. It's Cheesecake Factory, and then I'm like, do we really think this is a priority? Are we being really real and saying like this is the most important thing for you right now, that I want to lose fat and I'll do whatever it takes? Because whatever it takes, what I think of is like, I'm gonna weigh everything to the gram. I'm down to like whatever it takes. I think is a high bar to say that you're committing to. And so this is just me being really real. But like sometimes we gotta ask, just be smart. Like sometimes just ask yourself, or I'll ask myself, like, is this the choice that makes sense to get me to where I'm saying and mentally committing to as a priority? And Nicole will challenge me when I'm bulking and I want to like get my body fat up and really like gain size. Sometimes I'm doing things of like, okay, is my third salad of the day and like overestimating these calories, is this really what's going to be best for getting me to X goal? And on the flip side, like Kevin is, starting off your day with a triple omelet with extra cheese, really setting you up for success for the rest of the day to be in control with your calories. Probably not. So sometimes it's just be smart and kind of have the gives and takes that comes along with these things. I put it in here, value. I want to use this one because this you may see it on an Instagram caption, but prepping for this really like brought this into things. Value. So typically when we think value, let me just minimize these. When we think value equals, it's typically quantity or quality per dollar, right? When we think value, I want to challenge you in terms of thinking value in terms of, let's go in terms of like nutrition, in terms of fat loss targets. So what I'm thinking of, and this is kind of underlying, like I never put words to it, but it's always a game that I'm playing. But when we think value in terms of fat loss goals, I'm thinking of palatability, so taste, could say that's quality, and volume per calorie. So when I think value, is a burger a good value decision? No, it's a Lamborghini. So is the disco fries a good value decision for my fat loss goals? That could be, and that's different for other people. Some people find other foods more palatable than others, and that's the individual kind of part of this. But generally, it's a high cost of calories. So like no matter how delicious it is, the value may not be there because there's just so many calories. Cheesecake at Cheesecake Factory, phenomenal. It's delicious. But for 1,500 calories a slice, you can't say that's value. That's a Lamborghini. That's a Bugatti. I don't know if we're going to all ball out on a Bugatti all the time. So keeping that in mind, what is kind of high value to me? What is that that Honda Civic, that thing will keep going. That's getting you 200,000 miles. For me, at Cheesecake Factory, that's the Skinnylicious Mexican tortilla salad. It's like 600 calories, ton of volume. It's pretty darn tasty, but the calories are low, so that just makes everything, way better because you're reducing that denominator, which that amplifies it. So I'm thinking of value. So takeaway is think of value in terms of fat loss goals. What is that value? That palatability, the volume you get per calorie. And if you think about that, that can be useful. So this is going to be, I'm going to close this one out, this topic, but I think it's so important. And I'm someone in this season of my life, I've traveled more than I ever thought I would. So I've really had to get, efficient and effective with staying on track while dieting. Because if every single trip that I take, if you're someone who travels a lot, if every single trip you take knocks you off your goals, knocks you off your plan, and you travel 20 weekends a year, you're going to have a tough time getting any momentum or any kind of leeway or anywhere in terms of changing your physique or body or hitting your goals. But if you find something that makes it fit, that you can do no matter where you are, keep the principles in mind and manage them, you're a freaking machine. And you're going to accomplish your goals and be that if you're in Italy, if you're in Utah, if you're in the PNW, wherever you may be, if you are that cool, solid cucumber that's going to get the job done and stay on the priorities, you're a force to be reckoned with. So staying on track when traveling, get your protein in a calorie efficient way. Things fall into place. Number 2 is use the 2, not 3 strategy. This works for me. Keep those big calorie dense meals to 2, not 3. 3, get those steps in, explore, get those in while you're in a new environment. 4, find some cool local gyms or get a Planet Fitness Black Card, and then you unlock, I forgot, it's $20 a month or something, but you get all the gyms in there everywhere. And then 5 is when handling dinners or meals out, I guess at the end of the day, be smart or focus on quote-unquote value. So that's going to take it for today's topic. Hope that one's useful for you guys. Now, let's get into some Q&A. Give me a thumbs up if that was helpful for you. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching the recording, give me a comment and let me know if that was helpful, because that's really the stuff that I do. And I'm 15 years into my journey. I've tracked I had 2 separate 1,000-day streaks on my MyFitnessPal in tracking. And I've just found what's worked really well for me. And I'm just someone who's, when I find a cookbook, I like to see people that have cooked a ton and tried stuff that didn't work and did work. I'm someone who's, I get to be that person in terms of nutrition and fitness, because I've done 15 years of it. What is it? 4,000 workouts or something. Probably around 3,500, 4,000 workouts. So I've done a lot of things that didn't work, and I've done things that do work. And I've tried a lot of food, and I've worked on finding that volume. So I hope that's helpful with my experience and kind of having a lot of, stuff that didn't work. Okay, Todd, can your body digest more than 34 grams of protein at a time? People keep telling me it can't. So what we got to do here, and I hear this all the time, but it's what do we mean by digest? Do we just poop it out entirely and those calories don't count? Are we saying that protein is just not used towards anabolism, which means building muscle and muscle protein synthesis? So here is kind of what we know. So can your body, oh man, when I share my screen, I can't see it, but can your body digest 34G protein? And 34 grams of protein isn't that damn much. So whoever's telling you can't, 34, at least give me something that's challenging, it's 60 grams of protein. So here's what we know. Here's kind of the thought process. Can we digest it? Can we digest it? And I'm thinking of this can we absorb that food and calories? Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. And the answer there is yes. Those calories still freaking count. So can we digest it? Yes. If you eat 4,000 calories of lean steak, yes, those calories are still going to eventually count. So yes, if you have 35 grams of protein, those 4 calories from the 35th gram, they will count. So 1, can we digest it? Yes. You're not going to poop it out without it being absorbed at all. Number 2, anabolism. And this is, I think, that is what is kind of misconstrued and why this is such a thing is when it comes to protein intake, here's what happens. So here's what happens. So protein intake and anabolism. So what happens is due to the amount of protein you consume, so protein, we're going to get long-winded on this. So protein equals amino acids, okay? Can't even spell protein. I'm trying to tell you like what protein does. And so within those amino acids, we have the moneymaker. So amino acids, the most important is leucine. Because when we hit a certain blood level of leucine, MPS is stimulated. And so muscle protein synthesis is MPS. MPS equals muscle protein synthesis. So it's kind of like, okay, green light, gang, start building muscle. It tells like your body, like, okay, let's start using this protein in the body, and let's start, building up some protein, so our muscles. And so what happens here is when I'm thinking of the body and protein, the question is how much leucine caps this out. So how much leucine do we need? I think it's 0.04 to 0.06 grams per kilogram, I believe. No, I think that's the amount of leucine, but don't quote me on that. I think it's in a textbook by Renaissance Periodization, or I think Alan Aragon has it out somewhere. But I'm speaking like generalities. So how much general protein? So generally, how much protein does it take to get this hit? Generally, I remember for myself, I'm about 100 kilograms. And so I remember it was 0.4 to 0.6 grams per kilogram. So for me, that's 40 to 60 grams of protein. So generally within that, I think it's 0.04 to 0.06 grams of leucine is what you need to fully cap that muscle protein synthesis. So that leucine threshold, I believe it's around there. So I remember when I did the math, it was like 40 to 60 grams of protein. So for me, I want to have, separate 3 to 5 protein feedings. This is why you separate your protein feedings. I want 3 to 5 protein feedings of 40 to 60 grams of protein. Separated because there is actually, when you stimulate muscle protein synthesis, there's a refractory period. And I believe it's like 3 to 4 hours or so. So that's why you separate your protein feedings and you spread out your protein. And that's gonna be, kind of what is quote unquote best for protein. So when we talk about like, can your body digest 34 grams of protein? When we talk about digesting it, yes, you will absorb and make use of those calories. If you have 4,000 grams of protein, then yes, there's probably inefficiencies with our digestive system where like the 4,000th gram of protein, our body's just like, all right, I give up and just pass that thing through without being digested. But in realistic terms, be that 50 grams of protein, 75 grams of protein, 100 grams of protein, you go off to a Brazilian rodizio and you just go off, king, you're probably going to be, absorbing those calories. So can we digest it? Yes, those calories still do count, no matter how much protein you have, unless it's like super mega outlier. And then when it comes to anabolism, it's a maybe. But I would say 34 grams of protein. So I'd say yes, but prob not like 80 plus grams. It's going to do nothing. You're already capping out that muscle protein synthesis, because once you go over, in my case, I'm 100 kilograms. If I'm going over like 60 grams of protein in terms of the amount of leucine that is in there, if I'm already hitting that, there's that upward cap, I don't get bonus up here by having super mega high amounts of protein in one meal. This is why it's useful to spread your protein into 3 to 5 protein feedings of, for me, 40 to 60 grams of protein separated by 3 to 4 hours. So I believe, here, blanket statement that's going to be helpful for you. Your protein target, let's do 1 gram per pound goal body weight. So let's say that's like, and I would say it's like a lean body weight. So let's say that's like 150 pounds. Now I'm going to do easy math, 160 pounds. So your protein target, we know your daily. So then I would do, 20 to 25% of this protein separated into, 3 to 5 meals. So that means you're going to have, what is that going to be? 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. And that should about cap your leucine threshold at each meal. You're getting in 3 to 5 protein feedings, so spikes of muscle protein synthesis. And that's probably going to be, one of those best things for anabolism, and probably worth your effort Do you need 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, protein feedings and to spread all your protein intake to that degree? No, you're going to get diminishing returns after like probably 4-ish protein feedings. But that's what I'm thinking of. I think it's worth spreading into at least, 3 protein feedings. That's going to be significantly better than 1 or 2. If you have all your protein in one meal, there's room for improvement by spreading that into probably 3. And it's probably going to be useful. All right. Thank you, Greg. You don't have to do that. But again, I appreciate it every time. Thank you. Thank you. All right. How is the running going? Are you increasing protein intake now that you are running? How do you determine if you should increase protein with increased cardio? Very good question. The interesting thing, and I'm going to take this out of, because I'm not the one doing all the research. And I would say it was the Endurance Handbook, I think Renaissance Periodization made, and that's Dr. Mike Israetel. I think he had his hand in it. Endurance athletes actually don't need as much protein as like a bodybuilder. As a bodybuilder that's trying to acquire muscle mass, that'd be more. And I would just, if we're going to talk on per pounds, I think it was like 0.6 grams per pound is like a fine place to be, and just getting a lot more carbs. I think you're okay there. But I think it's in that range. So bodybuilders, I think, are going to be often like more in that 0.7 to 1 gram per pound is going to be, pretty solid. But then, yeah, if you're doing more things, there's more protein turnover. So there's more breakdown of muscles when you're just doing more exercise. So for my purposes, it's definitely going to be, I'm going to want to be on this upper end, I would say. So my protein intake is always pretty high, and I wouldn't say that anybody else really needs to be this high. So what I shoot for is, I weigh right now, I'm 220, and I feel really good at this weight. I feel that it's a good balance for me to be able to perform well. I like how I look. 215 I'm going to go to and just see how that feels, especially with running. I don't know if I'll go to 210 when I go to try to run a marathon later in the year, if that's going to streamline me or if I just feel depleted. So I think my sweet spot might be 215. So right now I weigh 220, and I always get at least 250 grams of protein. I shoot for 250 plus. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm pretty consistent on that. So I'm going over 1 gram per pound. I do it because I like it, but I think for me, it's also after a run, and if I have a big workout coming out the next day, it's getting in the calories pretty soon after my sessions to make sure that I'm in a good spot glycogen-wise. But I'm going to be depleting glycogen anyway because I'm in a fat loss phase. How's the running going? It's going good. Did an easy 3-miler this morning. And it was actually one of my most scary runs. When I was in Utah, I had a 5-mile run. And so take this as a lesson for anyone who wants to pick up running. Okay, so the day before ended at like 1 a.m. or something. And I had a flight to catch, but I wanted to get a workout in. I wanted to get in my 5-mile run. It was my long run for the week. And I just didn't have much time. So my game plan was, I'm going to just bite the bullet, have less sleep than ideal, and I'm going to get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, but I'm going to get outside to run within 30 minutes. So I woke up at 6, and I was pretty much outside running at like 6:35. What had happened is I don't think I had any caffeine. And so I woke up, brushed my teeth, did all the things, got dressed, and then I got outside and started running. We had Mexican food the night before. Some beans, some other things, and more food. And it was a 5-mile run, and I was probably at the furthest point going to be about a mile away from the hotel. And danger struck and 4.2 miles into my run. And it became like a waddle and walk kind of situation. If you've ever run, more than a couple miles, you may know what I'm talking about. I was in the danger zone. And so I kind of had to like stop, walk a little bit, then like start jogging a little bit. And I just had to get back to the hotel. It was survival at that point. So my 5-mile run only became 4.5 miles, but we kind of got it done. And thankfully, I made it back in time. So learning, it's fun to learn with running, but like definitely I'm learning that if I'm going to do a morning run, have caffeine, sit on the caffeine for a little bit, allow things to happen, and then you want to go for your runs, especially if you're going to be far away from your home. So that was the scariest moment of my running so far. Core Power protein shakes are the best in my opinion. I actually had a vanilla one. I think it was yesterday in Utah. Vanilla Core Power, 42 grams. Oh, yeah, they're delicious. We used to get them by the pack, but they're pretty expensive. But now I like the nutrition ones, the 30 grams. I'll just have a couple of those. Do you have a calendar of pictures of yourself or any posters for purchasing? Posters for that. Hey, no, that's the first time I've been asked for an autograph once in my life, which was super cool. But like having a poster myself, like that's pretty cool. So I appreciate the compliment, but I do not. A calendar. I remember, I think it was me and the Rutgers powerlifting. I think we were like, yeah, we should put together a calendar. And actually, when I was in high school, we had something called, I grew up in Delran, New Jersey. We had something called Mr. Delran. And I was February. So like we all had like a photo shoot. So I was in a calendar once. I was Cupid. And, I think I slayed for that calendar. I read on the interwebs that a good formal for determining the number of calories to use to take your body weight and times by 15. Truth or myth, in your opinion? It provided no reason for 15. I think with any calculator or any formula like this, it's a good starting point, but you got to adjust based on the data. So if I did this, again, 220 pounds, that put me at 3,300 calories. That is not a bad guess for my maintenance. I'm trying to diet on 2,500 calories. That is not a bad guess. I think like 3,000 may be pretty fair for my maintenance right now at 220. So it's not far off, but it's not going to be perfect for every individual, especially this doesn't take into accountability or into account your activity level, which can, highly be variable. But then also we have genetics that highly variable. So what I would think, this is a great place to start. If I went to 3,300 calories, I think I'd be gaining slowly over time. And I would have to be weighing in and taking objective data to see that I'm not going in the direction that I want. Or if I'm trying to bulk, I am going in the right direction. And then I would adjust from there. So a great starting point. I like this as a starting point, but based on yourself, you got to see where that gets you moving. If you're 100 and Nicole's 100 pounds, yeah, this isn't too bad. That would put her at 1,500. I think that her maintenance is going to be more in that 13 to 1,500. When she tracks, she's small. She's 100 pounds, 5'1". So I think, again, good starting point. It sounds like it's a little high, but I think that's a really good, place to start. That's simple for most people. But it would depend. Nah, bro, got to eat like Ish Nasty. Yeah, just go straight to 2,500 calories. And like when I'm bulking, it's 3,500 to 4,000. Like, yeah, we are the same. We're all the same. Just eat the same calories. Take my macros and run. What does your daily schedule look like? I'll give you this quick one, and then I think it's going to be end of the day on this one. Generally, as far as my days go, and I'll preface this, I am boring. My wife is way cooler than me. I live my life like I'm 80. So the way that I work my day is usually, most days I'm up at 4:15 a.m., then 5 a.m., So here's what my day looks like typically. So it's gonna be wake up. It's gonna be 5 to 7 a.m. work out. Ideally, I usually will eat something after the gym. I'd like that to be very efficient, but it often isn't. 7 a.m. to like 12 p.m. That's often going to be my deep work. But often even my deep work, I'll have like calls that come up or something. But I try to make this my deep work. Depending on my week, what deep work can be is like, planning out our retreats. That can be creating content a lot of times. So Tuesdays when I'm doing a lot of Reels-based content. Wednesdays where I do a lot of stills-based content, so photos and captions. And then today is when I do, this long form content, and I put this into something called Opus Clips, and it cuts it up for some additional content. So typically it's, 5 content pieces on Tuesday that I create, 5 to 7 photos I'll create on Wednesdays. And then this usually breaks into another 4 to 6 videos. So that's kind of what it works out to for me. So creating content, running retreats, working on projects. Right now, if you're interested, we are hiring for a sales position. So that is DM me if you're on Instagram and watching this. If you're interested in a sales position, it's fully remote. It's also, the job is posted on LinkedIn, and then also it is on my Facebook. So if you're interested in that, shoot me a DM. We're going to be starting interviews pretty shortly for that. Projects, what else we got going on there? And my Mondays are big on, seeing a lot of our clients. And then Mondays are very team focused. So that's where I have meetings with, the HFP team internally. Tuesday is more of external works. I kick off our new clients, and I have a lot of client calls those days. And then I'm usually, so outside of that deep work block, and usually right now also I sneak in my run. So I often sneak my run into like sometime during that 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. Or maybe like, 12 to 2. And then typically 12 p.m. to, let's say, depending on the day, let's say like 4 p.m. This is where I would often have like, calls with our later term clients, talking about like our phases, 2 and 3. And so interviewing and seeing if like it makes sense to hop into like our later stage program. So, or this could be like team calls, but typically quarterlies or, once a quarter. But that's often where I'll try to have more of like, I guess, meeting type stuff, 12 to 4. Some nights are going to be, I'm done at 6 p.m. and like just people's availability, I'm going to be working later. Sometimes like Thursdays are going to be late. Mondays and Thursdays are later for me. So I'm done at like, 7 p.m. Thursdays, I'm going to be done at 9 p.m. It just like really depends. And then some usually one, 2 times a week, I'm done at 3. And then like me and Nicole are able to, date night on those nights. We'll just like go hang out. We got like 4 hours. And usually 7 p.m. is bedtime. So 7 p.m. is I'm actually getting into bed, and I usually give myself like wind down time. So wind down. So I'll usually just like be watching stuff on YouTube, and then I try to be shut eye around then. And then sleep. So that's pretty much my day. And that's kind of how I run my days. I mean, if I look at my schedule right now, what that looks like, today was deep work. I'm teaching a class like at 4 pretty much. And so this day is going to be done at 5. And so, but I also was able to, break up the day in the middle because I work from here. So sometimes I'm able to, me and Nicole have a house project. I can step out between calls. And it really depends. Tomorrow I have some calls that broke into my deep work block. And then, that's going to be more of a flexible day. Thursday, pretty much the majority of the day is booked, 7 to 2. And then I got 6 p.m. to 9. And so that's going to be a longer kind of day. And it plays out like that. And I mean, honestly, I love it. I think it's really cool what, I get to do my dream job, which is, doing coaching full time. So it's really cool. And I mean, shout out to you guys. If you're watching this live, like shout out to you. And, I appreciate you guys putting me in this position where I'm able to help so many people. And that's kind of the purpose of FlexRx is to, help as many people as I can. And especially the Q&A format, able to knock out a lot of questions. But that's going to do it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. And I will see you guys next week at 2 p.m. EST. See you later.